You're going to be hearing now about Chasing Rainbows, The Road to Oz, a new stage musical that played very successfully at the State Theater of North Carolina about a year and a half ago, and equally successfully at the Goodspeed Opera House in East Haddam, Connecticut last September, October, and November. You'll hear why it's special for me, but the young lady I'm about to present is here because several people from Chittenango saw it at Goodspeed and said to me, can you get her to come to Oz-Stravaganza? We want to hear more about the show. We want people to experience a little bit of what we experienced with the show. So you'll hear more about her as we go on, but it's my pleasure to introduce somebody who's become a very good friend across the last almost 7 years, Tina Marie Casamento Libby.
Woo! Thank you guys for sticking around to hear a little bit about our show, Chasing Rainbows, The Road to Oz, which started out as something I had as an idea when I was 14, because I was absolutely in love with the character of Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. And as a 4-year-old, after my mother passed away, I was sent to live with my aunt and uncle. So when I first saw The Wizard of Oz, and I saw Dorothy living with her Auntie Anne and her Uncle Henry, I thought, well gosh, where are her parents? Why is she, oh, she must be like me. And then she sang Over the Rainbow and I was hooked. I just loved this girl and I wanted to learn about her. And that's when I started studying the actress that played Dorothy. And every time I would read a new book about Judy Garland, I wouldn't want to go much past Meet Me in St. Louis. I was really only interested in her early life, which I felt like a lot of people didn't talk much about. And I was so excited about this quote that she had, "The history of my life is in my songs." And as a young actress, I really, really connected to lyrics and storytelling, and so I was always really fascinated with the way that Judy interpreted a song, and especially, just the depth of her in The Wizard of Oz. And so that was really the idea and how it got started. As a 14-year-old girl, I was so excited when this movie was coming out, a TV movie about young Judy Garland. I was so excited. I thought, oh good, somebody's finally gonna do my idea. And I watched it and I went, oh no, that's not what I wanted.
This is a TV movie from 1978 called Rainbow. It starred Andrea McArdle, who was semi-fresh from Annie on Broadway, and Jackie Cooper, who had dated Judy and who knew Judy at Metro, directed, in his later career, he's not an actor, he directed Rainbow for TV, and he said he could not get a performance out of Andrea McArdle. She was just totally disinterested in what she was doing. It was a stage mother kind of situation, which also has its echoes in what we've done together now. But what I love about it is that even though you realized that it hadn't been done well, you still thought it had value.
I really thought, when it started with the song I'm Always Chasing Rainbows, I was excited. And then I was so disappointed because I thought they totally missed the point of the lyric. And I kept thinking, oh, I can't wait until like a big Broadway producer takes this over and does it right for Broadway. That's gonna be the best. And no one ever did.
And then meanwhile, you yourself had taken on a career, a great professional career.
I had a really lovely career. I did a bunch of First National Broadway tours. I moved to New York rather late in my life. I got my equity card, which is the union for actors, working in the DC area. Before I got my equity card, I won a lot of Oz Idol contests, doing Dorothy in singing Over the Rainbow, that sort of thing. Not right now.
We had to keep her off the stage earlier.
Yeah, but it was just something I really, really believed in, and I loved the story, and I loved the relationship of her father. And I wanted to use the songs. I didn't want a concert version of a Judy Garland musical. I didn't want a jukebox musical. I wanted it to be a book musical where the songs tell her story, which is why the character of Frank, her father, sings the title song, I'm Always Chasing Rainbows, because really those lyrics are his story. She sang the song later, but we're telling her story from age 4 to 15, and a 15-year-old doesn't really need to sing those lyrics. They're not really a lyric for a young girl. And there was such a special relationship between her and her father that part of the story was something I really wanted to tell. I spent a lot of time reading lyrics of songs that I didn't know, and then listening to the song to find out, is this a good song? Could we turn this into something musical that feels Feels Like Broadway. So it was really about the lyric before it was about the song. Because I didn't know some of the songs, actually. You know, one of the songs that we use, Always and Always, I just loved the lyric.
And it's a song that was written for an MGM movie, but that Judy Garland herself had never sung.
No.
But it was from the early 1930s, which made it applicable to what you were doing.
Right. It had, for me, it had to be within that 1930s period, the time that Judy was growing up. It would have been something she would have heard on the radio. It might have been something her father sang while they were performing in vaudeville, or her mother. So it had to feel like Judy herself was telling me, oh, I remember that song. And I even had a couple of moments as we've been developing this show where I literally woke up, and I know that I'm freaky this way, I like believe in this kind of thing, but I literally woke up thinking I heard her in my ear. And there was a particular moment in a section of the show called the Oz montage. Frank Gum died when she was 14, and that's a big part of the story. In that Judy in Act 1 spends almost all of Act 1 trying to get a contract at MGM because in the 1930s, a young girl making $100 a week would feed her whole family. And she felt like her father, if she could just get that contract, her family would stay together. And so when he died, after she got the contract, it was just devastating and heartbreaking when you think about the context of the story. Well, in the Oz montage, the ghost of Frank appears. And right at that time is when she reads her latest draft. And this is what I woke up one morning hearing the music in that section of the Oz montage in my head, and then hearing Judy Garland's voice saying, I think I'll miss you most of all. And I went, oh, I know where that goes. And I literally went into rehearsal that day and I said, we need to put this in, and it goes right here, and we don't have to add any music, we don't have to change anything, but this is where it goes. And so it's things like that have happened to me over the course of this development.
And at this point, when she had the treatment, she had a lot of the songs plugged in, she had an outline for the show, somebody said to her, you should talk
to John Fricke. And I said, I would love to talk to John Fricke. I don't know him. And they said, we'll introduce you. So I sent an email to John Fricke. They introduced us by email, and he said, I'll agree to meet with her, but only to tell her why this is a terrible idea and it never works.
Well, only because all I knew is that this was somebody who wanted to do a musical about young Judy Garland. And I thought, oh, yeah.
Another one of those.
Yeah. Well, and there had been any number about young Judy Garland, old Judy Garland, middle Judy Garland, all Judy Garland,
Yeah,
most of which had nothing to do with Judy Garland.
And at the time, End of the Rainbow was playing on Broadway, which was a play about Judy Garland, about the end of her life. And I went to see it, and I thought, you know, she has 3 living children and grandchildren. I would not want my mother portrayed like that on stage. I want to honor the memory of this young woman who became our American icon, known as Judy Garland. And anyway, John did finally meet with me.
At the Westway Diner, they'll someday put up a plaque. This is what they need over there. And I thought, this is somebody who knows what she's doing. And this is an interesting premise. And we will celebrate the 7th anniversary of that meeting this coming November.
Yes.
So that's how long all of this madness takes.
Yeah.
So as Frank Gum, her father, was a great singer and a great entertainer, maybe not of stardom caliber, but a great vaudevillian. He was also, at very least, bisexual. And this led to much difficulty in the marriage, and many of the problems that came to Judy later in her life are planted throughout Chasing Rainbows, because they have to be if you're telling the story accurately. As I say, Colleen and Lynn and Terry all came up to Goodspeed to see the show, and they wanted Tina Marie to meet you, and I wanted her to meet you too, so I'm glad you've had the opportunity to do that.
And we're now doing what they call, it's kind of, it's called a lab in New York, and it's where you do 3 weeks of rehearsal with a very big, you know, very high caliber Broadway level talent, develop the show, and then you do 3 presentations for all of the Broadway royalty. So basically they all come, the theater owners come, and the people that can write the big checks, because we have to raise about another $9 million to get the show to Broadway. And if the theater owners say that they will give us a theater and everybody writes the checks, we hope to be on Broadway by fall of 2018. That's the plan. We're feeling really good about it because there's a lot of buzz about it. People really love the Goodspeed production. I didn't think it was perfect. I sat there going, oh, I want this different, and then people still screamed and yelled at the end and cried, and I was like, okay, well, we're onto something, but we just have to make it perfect. And so we'll have that presentation this summer. So be sending good thoughts in the middle of the summer for Chasing
Or
Rainbows.
checks.
We'll take checks if anybody wants to be a Broadway investor producer. But that's where we are. We actually had some really exciting news about another actor that we really love accepted the role of Roger Edens today. And we're going to make that announcement on Playbill. Playbill's been hounding me for updates, which is always a good sign.
Oh, our new choreographer is Tony nominated this year for the choreography for Holiday Inn from last season. The man who accepted the role of Roger Edens was a Tony nominee. We can't announce the name. Dennis, everybody knows because he's been on TV, the choreographer. But this actor was nominated for a Tony a couple of seasons ago for a musical. It is that caliber of people. Our Mickey Rooney is in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Our Louis B. Mayer is in Hello, Dolly with Bette Midler. And he's understudying David Hyde Pierce and has gone on to play opposite Bette at least 3 times. So it just snowballs. And
We're having auditions on Tuesday for Shirley and Baby, the little itty bitty ones. Shirley Temple and Baby Gum.
So if any of you girls are willing to sing on your knees, you could probably at least get a hearing. And we want to wrap up now because you've been very patient and you've sat a long time. But I wanted you to have the opportunity to see something that someone has put her heart and soul into, and this has been the result. And this is how far she's gotten and how much excitement there is. Tomorrow night we have this same story told again by Gabriel Gale, somebody who had a dream and has realized it. And tomorrow night we have Jane Lahr right here in this room. Tomorrow the parade is at 2. There are, as you know, activities all day. The All Things Oz Museum and Gift Shop will be open, and we hope to see you all then. Thank you.
Woo!